All right, Periscope is out. Timer is up, which means we're live. What's going on, everybody? Tuesday, May 7th, 13 game slate on the docket. Basketball was crazy last night. Baseball was crazy bad for me last night. How was your night? How did Monday look for old
Yes,
Lofty?
certainly could have been better. My boy Martin Perez keeps on cruising, but that wasn't enough.
No,
I did like Boston a lot against John Means.
same.
Right, great fastball and changeup hitters couldn't hit a thing. John Means looked like a Cy Young, which is funny because of this argument we had last week, and he was terrible. That's what baseball's a crazy sport, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what's really funny? And I was thinking about this last night. John Means had 4 strikeouts last night. If you told me before the game started that John Means had 4 Ks, I would increase my Red Sox projection.
Right. I agree.
It's no one would think about it like that.
He went
Well, most
7
people would
innings,
not.
right?
Yeah, he had 4 Ks. If you tell me he has 4 Ks, I probably give a 10% boost to the Red Sox because I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Lots of balls in play today.
Yep.
I'll bet on the bats.
10% swinging strike rate.
Yeah, that dude, man, he's gonna be my kryptonite all year.
It was rough. Like, I feel like it flashbacks of Mark Burley coming.
Oh God, what a dude! Got by on guts, spit,
That's right.
tar, whatever else he had to do.
It was
Sure he was
rough.
doing it.
It was there were. I mean, it was one of those evenings where things did not go according to plan. Tampa Bay had that monster output.
Yeah, I looked at my phone and I was like, oh, cool, 2 grand slams in the first 15 minutes today.
Right. Right. Who was it? Tommy Pham and Jonathan VR.
VR, I think. Yeah.
I did like VR, but the amount of Boston didn't really matter.
No, I had twice the field, so it mattered to me.
No. I'm saying it wouldn't have mattered what
No.
what anyone else did.
No, not at all. Alrighty, 13 games. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. If you want to come check everything out, MLB Strategy is the code for you. As usual on the Strategy Show, or the Deeper Dive, or the Early Bird Podcast, we're brought to you by Yahoo Sports. If you want to sign up at Yahoo, and really, what are you waiting for? We would highly recommend that you use the link that I'm about to post here. There's also a link in the comments section of the YouTube video if that makes it easier for you. But if you do it, please use this link. It benefits us greatly by allowing allowing Yahoo to know where you're coming from, and it won't affect your experience at all. You can use the promo code AWESOMO when you get there. Get up to $30 in them YSRPs.
Yeah.
And you can use the Yahoo Sports Rewards points to enter contests. You can't beat it. 10 max, lower management fees, sometimes no management fees. It should be the place that you're starting your day because it's going to be an easier method of returning your money. And that's really what we're doing here. This is when push comes to shove, we're just all trying to make money doing the same thing. And you can... I truly believe you have a better potential of making money by starting at Yahoo than starting at a different site. So,
by the way, you did a killer job on that Cruncher Pro video.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Very solid. Yeah, I came across it. I was searching our site for something. I came across. I said, "Oh, it's Josh. Let me listen." And yeah, he did a great job breaking that down. Like anybody that would be new or moderately new to the game and wasn't super familiar with how it worked, I think you would have done a great job explaining it. Even the normal distribution, as far as randomness goes,
Yeah.
all of that stuff was easily digestible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was the goal. That's the intention. So
Yeah.
I hope I hit my mark.
A few of your jokes were flat, but other than that,
I mean, that's a par for the
I'm,
course,
I'm
then, right?
joking. I'm joking. I don't even think you made any.
Speaking of flat jokes. All right, let's do this. 13 gamer. First game up, the house that John Means built, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Boston Red Sox. 3.6 run implied total for the Orioles, 4.9 for the Sox. The 64% chance to win for Boston. David Hess back on the hill for Baltimore. Hector Velasquez going for the Red Sox. I loaded ownership, right? Yeah. No ownership going to either one of these pitchers, and it shouldn't. I assume that we can keep moving on, but are you taking Hess or Velasquez here?
No, zero. Hess has no K upside. Or sorry, Velasquez has no K upside, and David Hess is David Hess. Need I say more?
Yeah, I don't think so. That sounds spot on to me.
He's
But we
probably
need to talk about bats. And in the surprise of all surprise, the Red Sox are my number one stack. Both sites, they are fourth on Yahoo, though. A little bit more expensive there. For the Orioles, grading out pretty low across the board. So talk to me about Boston. Do you go back that way again today?
I mean, how do you not?
Yeah.
It's really tough not to. Highest total on the slate. And really, you're just using that as guidance. But David Hess is one of those guys that has done absolutely nothing to convince me that he's better than he was last year. He's had a couple of decent starts. You know, he hasn't been as bad, but he's still, I mean, it's been a rough go for him again. 4 runs, 4 runs, 6 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs over his last 5 starts. He's going to give up runs. Now, he's also going to give up home runs. And one of the big things here, it is something I will look at, is certain pitchers give up home runs, and at the end of the year, they may have allowed 30 of them, but it's always like a solo shot, you know, and one home run a game. Cole Hamels would be a good example. David Hess has allowed 3 home runs in 2 different starts already. So when things go south for David Hess, they go real south for David Hess.
Yeah.
Right. And you're talking about a Boston team that, look, they've disappointed in a lot of spots already this year. There's no denying that. But Mookie, Benintendi, Martinez, Bogarts, Chavis, there's just a lot of good hitters here. And by the way, last thing is, Christian Vasquez is actually a catcher I don't mind paying for. Adam and I had this discussion yesterday.
I had a lot of him on FanDuel yesterday, so go on. Tell me
more. Wow. Okay.
Tell me more.
All right. Yeah, he once I saw he's batting 6, he was in the line, he became my top catcher because it was such a terrible position as always. He's got 5 home runs this year. He's got 9 extra base hits, 14 RBIs. Let's not act like at his position that's not pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's like that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a catcher that pops a home run, that is usually going to be a very vital part of a stack for that team.
He's hit for power this year. I don't know if it's gonna last, but not many people have power at this position whatsoever. So
and getting higher up in the order, like today, projected to hit 9th, but I mean, every spot that you move up there is so dramatically different for you. Just increasing the amount of times that you can come to the plate is massive. I love this Red Sox team again. It would blow my mind if I didn't have a similar amount that I did yesterday. You know, I can do a little bit of Jonathan VR like normal. Chris Davis on Yahoo continues to be $7. But the star of the show is certainly the Red Sox bats. Like JD Martinez is 4K on FanDuel tonight. What are we doing here?
Yeah, that's tough to understand. I mean, I would assume that he's going to be pretty chalky, but it doesn't really matter.
He's 24% projected ownership right now. I just, that's like an absolutely insane price tag. I'm trying to find someone stupid that has a price that's higher than that. It's just,
he has the 5th highest projected ownership on FanDuel, and it makes sense.
He's the number 1 guy in my home run model today, and he's priced like an average outfielder.
Right. Exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love I can't imagine not wanting to have a ton of Red Sox. If Vasquez hits 9th, I'll probably have a little bit less on FanDuel today, but otherwise, I'm in 100%.
I'm with you on that, of course.
I'm running my first crunch now, so I'm just letting the letting that spit out, and I'll have some exposures. But I know Boston's going to be at the top, if not number one.
He's $100 more expensive than Ketel Marte. There you go.
Okay, so maybe the pricing is a little weird because Marte should be like $6K, right?
Yeah, only against Lyles.
That's fine. That's fine. I could take it. God, that was a great day. I don't have anything else for this game.
No, Boston bats and VR. Oh, no. One thing. I want to point this out. Chris Davis, you can laugh in the galley. I don't care. He has been good lately, or not terrible. Okay, so somewhere in the middle of that, and I'm serious too. Since the 13th of April, he's already hit 3 home runs with like 14 RBIs. Woba ISO split is really nice. That was after going 54 hitless at bats dating back to last season. Like if you look, Chris Davis is actually has been decent enough to consider. And as Adam put it, even before he was getting hits, he was hitting the ball hard. So if you are looking for a cheaper bat there, I don't have an issue with it. But 13 games, so it's going to be tough. But I actually think he's been fine. And obviously, like you said, VR is always in play. And he's been underpriced on FanDuel. Did they fix it? No, 3,400 is still pretty nice.
Yep.
And on Yahoo, VR is 15. So really good price, really good pricing on Yahoo.
Just exporting my final DK crunch and loading that in, so at least I'll have my exposures quickly. Give me 1 second, and then we can move on to Pirates and whoever the Pirates play. Because I don't know off the top of my head.
Texas.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that. That would have probably been like my 20th guess. I certainly would have worked my way through the NL first.
Right. Yeah, probably.
All right, if I take a look, Red Sox are my number one stack on FanDuel. Red Sox are my number 2 stack on DraftKings. Luckily, John Lester's getting some ownership, so I'll be rostering the Marlins again tonight. Great. Pirates and Rangers, 4.5 run implied total for the Pirates, 4 run implied total for the Rangers. 56% chance to win for Pittsburgh. Steven Brault going for the Pirates. Adrian Sampson going for Texas. Really loading up on quality pitching right out of the gate. No ownership going to Brault, no ownership going to Sampson, no interest on my end. Anything for you?
No, of course not.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's not for me. Pirates picking up a little bit of love as a stack. I am about half the field right now. Most of that ownership going to, I guess the Pirates really aren't picking up any love. Gregory Polanco getting 35% ownership on FanDuel is pushing that number pretty high. Not really the most interesting spot, although on DK, I don't mind going to something like Frazier, Polanco, Cervelli. But I don't have a ton of interest in this game. I don't really like the Rangers. The Pirates don't strike out all that much, but I don't really find them to be that good. This is just like a nothing game for me.
Yeah, for the most part. I really don't hate the idea of some Pirates bats, though, only because Adrian Sampson is not good. And you're talking about a guy that what a steamer has him at 6.4 Ks per 9. Zips is at 5.3 Ks per 9. Take whichever one of those you prefer, and it's not going to be pretty.
No.
So he gives up home runs. It's not a good park, of course, for hitters, so that should protect him a little bit. But I don't have any issues. You know, if Pittsburgh's going to be a low-owned stack, I'm not opposed to that. We saw it like the other week, the Pittsburgh stacks winning tournaments at PNC Park because, you know, nobody wanted to play them against the bad pitcher. And I think this is one of those spots where it's not the craziest idea at all.
Yeah, I got them as like a couple 5-mans, nothing crazy. Same for the Rangers. It's just minimal exposure.
Right. 7th highest total on the slate for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So they're in the top third, the upper third.
Okay. What bats stand out to you for the Pirates?
It's not even anybody specifically. You know, like you said, if you wanted to get a Marte, Polanco, Cervelli stack in there, Like Josh Bell's super expensive,
Yeah.
so it's tough. But uh, if you're stacking and trying to get away from the field, a lot of times teams will be overpriced, which is one of the reasons that people aren't rostering them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the White Sox, a lot. They'd be in a really good spot, but super underowned, not because they weren't in a good spot, but because everyone was above 5K. So really, it's just doing something different and hoping it works against a bad pitcher, I should add.
Yeah, pretty much. And the reason that I won't get to much Pittsburgh or even Texas in this case is neither pitcher is going to get a ton of ownership, and they're not grading out well independently of that. So if you project as average and there's no real leverage to gain, you're going to be the team that falls out for me. And that's where Pittsburgh stands for right now.
Fair enough.
Sorted wrong? Oh, yeah, we already talked about the Red Sox. I was like, oh, Red Sox up next? I'm a moron. Blue Jays and Twins. Blue Jays 3.9 run implied total, Twins 4.6. It's a 58% chance to win for the Twins. Aaron Sanchez going for the Jays. Jose Barrios going for Minnesota. Certainly not going to Sanchez. I don't think we're going to have too much interest there. No ownership. Barrios 6% on Yahoo, 8 on DK, 3 on FanDuel. Not getting much love, and I get it. He's the second most expensive pitcher on the sites. He grades out fine. Would be a reasonable option on a smaller slate, but to want to pay his price tag with like 7 or 8 guys that I think are better below him just on a dollar for dollar basis, whatever I end up with, I'm cool with. I'm not going to try to swap out or do anything crazy, but it's going to be hard to get a lot of volume because of his price.
Yeah, it's tough when he's priced where he is. I think if you were getting Barrios a little bit cheaper, I'd have a ton of interest in him. You know, he's also, I've said this a lot, and again, you could see it change this year. He's still a young pitcher, but he's been way better at home for his career.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah, it's dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic. As has to some extent been the case again this year as well. You know, look at the numbers again this year. It's a smaller sample, but if you bring it back 3 years, it's a lot more expansive. So I like him more at home. It doesn't mean I won't roster him away from home. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know you need to pay this much for him. No, it's tough to get to Barrios today. It really is.
Yeah, I got 5% on DraftKings, 3 on FanDuel. I'm happy to get whatever comes up.
Yeah.
I have some respect for this Blue Jays lineup. They don't seem like they'd be good, but they do project as like a slightly better than league average offense. There's no holes outside of, I guess, Freddie Galvis, but that's kind of a different hole than like a true awful player.
Let me pose this question to you, though.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this. Like on DraftKings right now, Syndergaard is at 41%, and I'm not even remotely surprised by that. People love paying too much for Noah Syndergaard, and coming off of his best start in a really, really it's been a very long time since we got such a good start like that from Syndergaard. Look, I'm not saying you're paying too much for him, but generally speaking, I think we talked about this, right? You know, if not playing Syndergaard more times than not is not gonna kill you. Last start definitely didn't help you either.
No,
But
not at all.
he's coming in at 41% against the Padres, who strike out a lot against righties, not nearly as much against lefties. And then Barrios on DraftKings is coming in at 8%. Do you see any edge there, or would you rather go into that mid-range or like the lower high range in the 9Ks or high 8Ks?
So,
Or are you very high on Syndergaard?
well, I have a lot of Syndergaard. I mean, I think that he's the best option on the slate today relative to his salary. I do have Barrios as close. The problem is there's just a lot of guys that are close. So I'm not getting to any one specifically, but like I see Strasburg, Barrios, Ryu, Nola, Lester, Caleb Smith, Colin McHugh. Like I see all of these guys. I hadn't even mentioned Bumgarner, but we'll get there eventually because that's going to be a different take. I see all these guys as super similar. So Syndergaard is separated from me, and then I've got like 9 guys that are the same thing. So it's really difficult for me outside of lineup construction to see where that ownership ends up. I would not tell anybody not to play Berrios. He looks really good, but Syndergaard is my guy. I don't like having 44% of him like I do right now. We'll see where the lines move as we get closer to lock. But that seems like a really natural pivot point. I don't think that ownership should be 41-8.
No, I'm with you. I think that's a huge gap.
Yeah. Like I would say if you knew Syndergaard was 40, Berrios should probably be like 20.
Right.
So
exactly.
I do like that as a pivot in large field tournaments. If Syndergaard is 40%.
Yep, so do I.
Bats here. Twins, I am roughly neutral with the field. 7% aggregate on FanDuel and DK is what we have the field at. That's basically where I am. I am under the field and have very little of the Blue Jays because of Berrios. So do you like any Twins bats?
Not really. I don't love picking on Aaron Sanchez.
Same.
While Berrios is not as good at home or away from home, he's still not a guy that I'm trying to load up on bats against on a 13-gamer. So, no, this game to me is one where I'm probably, if anything, it's just going to be Berrios.
Yeah, most I got of anybody on the Twins was 12% Nelson Cruz on FanDuel. Everybody else is in like the high single digits.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have any real crazy hot takes. Randall Grichuk is 25% expected ownership on Yahoo at $10. Nobody else on the Twins is in double digits on Yahoo. I mean, highest projected ownership in this entire game outside of Grichuk on Yahoo at 25 is Vlad Guerrero on Yahoo, $7 for 15. Like, there's just not a lot of ownership here. It's kind of pretty balanced.
Yep.
Alrighty. You don't spell Rays with 2 Y's, Josh. Rays and Diamondbacks, 4.6 run implied total for the Rays, 3.4 for the Diamondbacks, 64% chance to win for Tampa. Stanek getting the start for the Rays. I believe it's Jalen Beeks coming in.
Correct.
Taylor Clark going for the Diamondbacks. So we need to talk about Beeks because I think that is the biggest piece here. I have Beeks in for 4.5 innings. And if I have him in at 4.5 innings, I got to 18% Beeks on FanDuel at 5,500. I got to 19% Beeks at 7,100 on DraftKings. Something that I do want to pay attention to. Probably want to make a little bit of an adjustment as well. But how do you feel about Beeks?
It's an interesting one. I had a lot of him. He was my favorite SP2 last time out.
Yeah.
Against Kansas City. We got really good performance. And he was an SP2 that you really liked the time before that. Against the same Kansas City team. We didn't do a show together last time, but he pitched 6 and 2/3 innings last time.
Yeah.
Granted,
that's a lot.
It's a lot. Granted, he was ultra efficient and threw only 84 pitches. So that, you think about that. You're talking about 84 pitches across 6 and 2/3 innings. That is that's 12 pitches, a little more than 12 pitches an inning. So don't expect that to happen again, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Projecting him 4 and 2/3, I think is fine. Even projecting him at 5, I don't think is crazy.
If I project him in 5, I'll have him in half my lineups.
Okay.
DraftKings.
Okay. So
I think.
Yeah, that to me is interesting, but also he was 5,900 in the last 2 times on DraftKings that we had talked about him.
Yeah. 7,100 is a little different.
Yeah, he's starting to climb that player pool, and that, it gets a little weird once you start getting up there because he's a long reliever and you're projecting a $7,100 player for less than 5 innings. It's a little strange. Now, the cool thing is he doesn't need to go 5 innings to get the win. Right?
No.
So that is one advantage you actually have with long relievers on DraftKings. He could go 4 and 2/3, strike out 6, get the win, and still give you 20-some fantasy points. So there is an advantage in that sense. But
he's definitely not getting the quality start on FanDuel. That much I can tell you.
Correct. But wins wins are tough to predict. So I don't know how much you factor that in.
I mean, I estimate their chance of win and assign the points. It's
Right. I'm saying
marginal.
it's negligible. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, like you're looking at basically like a 30% chance for the general guy to get a win. It's not
Right.
even just the team getting the win, but it's then you also have to factor into that
Both.
decision. So like it's a 1.5, 2 points depending on the site. What you're really worried about are how many strikeouts did the guy get, and depending on the site, like how many stupid hits did he give up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
But he's been pretty good this year.
yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time not rostering him,
Yeah, I don't
especially
think
if
it's
he
great.
doesn't get rostered.
Exactly. Beeks at 5,900 last start was super underowned. Like,
I don't know. I don't even want to know how much I'd have of him today if he were 5,900.
I think that was the day where everyone rostered. It was. Everyone was on Tyson Ross instead.
I had a ton of Beaks that day. Although I did tell Legalized to get him out of that FanDuel lineup, so that didn't go well. Sorry, buddy.
I'm pretty sure it was because I remember Ross got blown up, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't have any Royals, and then I go and I look, and everyone had Ross, so it's like, oh wait, I don't need Royals in order to have a decent day. Let's see. No, it wasn't the same day. I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody that got blown up and everybody had him, and everyone was off of Beeks. People don't like the long reliever thing, but it's a fine spot. I don't have any issues with it. My guess is that he's very, very, very low owned just because of his price being up to where it is.
Yep, I completely agree with you. I'm going to have solid, teens exposure to him, barring any weird news that we get. But, I mean, he's just got really good strikeout stuff, so I'll take my chances. I don't have much in the way of bats in this game on either side.
No, neither do I.
Brandon Lau, I guess, Pham, Choi. The top is fine. I didn't really get to anything. I don't have any real exposure on DraftKings. Most I have of anybody on FanDuel is 5%, and I don't have a single Diamondbacks bet.
What do you know about Taylor Clark?
He spells his last name with an E. I don't know.
Yeah.
He projects as like a slightly below average starter. I have him in for 4.5 innings, so he's a complete nothing as far as I'm concerned.
Everything I've seen about him is this guy does not get strikeouts. At the AAA level, he was striking out like 7 batters per 9. Not exactly good.
No.
Not overpowering stuff. 19% K rate at AAA. And that's not everything. I understand that. He is also, however, not a ground ball pitcher. He gets a league average amount of ground balls. So maybe the Rays are actually in a better spot than I originally would have thought.
I wish I were getting more. I don't really know why.
Well,
they're pretty expensive
games
on DraftKings.
Yeah, 13 games.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be a spot I go. So as long as Tommy Pham doesn't hit any grand slams, I think it'll be fine.
There you go.
Alrighty. To the Tigers we go. Tigers and Angels. 4.2 run implied total for the Tigers. 4.7 for the Angels. It's a 55% chance to win for the Angels. Daniel Norris going for the Tigers. Griffin Canning going for the Angels. Canning got to 9% ownership on Yahoo at $31. He's at 3% on DK, 8,500. I have no exposure to either pitcher. You trying to get any Norris or Canning in your life?
Canning's kind of interesting. Okay. Last start, he showed some really good stuff, and then also showed us that, he's not as good as ever. Like, there were a lot of people that were salivating over him on Twitter, but he's not quite there yet. He had a 22% swinging strike rate in that game, though. 22% swinging strike rate on those 82 pitches thrown. That's insane, okay? Like, I get it. It's one start, But just to give you an idea of the amount of bats Griffin Canning was missing, there's that. And there is, so if you go and you look at his pitch usage on Brooks Baseball, he threw the slider 30% of the time. So raw pitch count is 28 times. He had a whiff percentage of 32% on the pitch. So he got 9 whiffs on 28 sliders thrown. He had 7 whiffs on the four-seamer. He's getting a lot of missed bats, and that was fascinating because the movement on his pitches was also something like, I mean, it was a sight to behold. So, yeah, to me, Canning is actually a little bit pricey.
Yeah, I was going to say the problem here is that he's 8,500.
He is, but if I'm entertaining paying 71 for a long reliever, then I can't just cross him out. And Detroit's one of those teams that is hardly imposing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all I'm saying is his swing and miss stuff was really nasty in that first start.
Yeah, look, I mean, price is everything in this spot, and it's just too much for me on DK with the amount of other guys that I can spend in the 8s for. But he generally grades out okay, and clearly the Tigers are a good matchup. I wouldn't begrudge anybody of having any percentage. I don't get the sense that I'll have more than maybe 1 or 2 throwaways, and I certainly don't want Daniel Norris.
Yeah, not going to be landing on a whole lot of Daniel Norris, no.
No. I have a little bit of the top of the Angels lineup: Fletcher, Trout, Simmons, Pujols. Most of that is just carried by the fact that Mike Trout is so good. Otherwise, I don't really have a ton of interest in this game.
No, other than some interest in Canning that I'm just going to look a little bit further into throughout the day. That would probably be it. I don't want to pick on him though. I don't. No. I don't have a ton of interest in playing Detroit bats.
Same. Most I got of anybody is 5% Miggy, so I'm good there. Seems like the perfect time for everybody to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button because it helps us out and helps us grow, and subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified every time we go live, like at 2:30 today when Ben Rasa and Tim Frank break down the AT&T Byron Nelson 1 week before the PGA Championship. Why wouldn't you want to know that immediately? Or when Laffy and Adam go live for the deeper dive today, or live before lock with Chris and Jake. You can just find out. You don't have to pop in and be like, did the stream start? Or when is this stream? Those events are already created. They're on Yahoo. You'll get those alerts. So do that.
Beautiful thing, Josh. Beautiful thing.
Really is. Brewers and Nats. I need to look this game up because there was no line on this as I started the day. And it is still... So it was like minus 104 on both sides. There's a little bit of a shade to Strasburg now. We didn't have a total either. I have it at 8. So I'm just going to call it 8 total, somewhere in the 4.1 to 3.9 range.
It's 8.
Yeah. So Adrian Hauser on the hill for the Brewers. Steven Strasburg going for the Nats. Strasburg, 24% expected ownership on Yahoo. 13 on DK, 5 on FanDuel. Strasburg is the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel and DK, second most behind Berrios on Yahoo. I didn't get to him. I have none on FanDuel. I have 1% on DK. I just can't justify it. I like too many guys that have lesser salary. How do you feel about Adrian Hauser scooping up the old 16% ownership?
Well, it's weird because Peralta's, they're supposed to be doing somewhat of an opener situation here with Freddie Peralta coming in.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
Yeah. So unless DraftKings actually has him listed as the probable long reliever.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me check out what Brew Crew Ball has to say.
It's funny too because while you look, Peralta had one brilliant start this year. Everything else has been a downright disaster. And this is what we talked about going back to the beginning of the season. He belongs out of the bullpen. He could be a force out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Like really good. because he relies on one pitch and then throws the curveball 17% of the time. So
It'd be really smart for Peralta to go to the bullpen the year before he becomes a free agent, so he can just go out there, rack up like 50K or 50 saves, monster strikeout numbers. Be like, yeah, I'm the new reliever. Give me 80 over 4.
Yeah, he could be a very good reliever. I do believe that. I really believe that. Starter, not so much. What are you seeing?
I'm looking up. So I'm on Brew Crew Brawl, which is like the Brewers SB Nation blog, and they're basically like, yeah, Hauser's going to start. We have no idea how long he's going to go. We have no idea how long Peralta is going to go. So
right,
and I'm not going to play Hauser. I'm not going to play Peralta unless we find out that he's definitely going, 5.
That's everything I was reading as well. That I have no clue how often, and essentially, so basically what it is, Peralta's expected to pitch. I saw this on 2 different spots. He's expected to pitch, but we don't know if he is going to, or we don't know when he's going to come in and how often and how long he's going to pitch. So I'm just going to ignore that situation there. I don't have interest in a bunch of Washington bats that are, I mean, no Adams, no Zimmerman, no Turner. Rendon is eligible to be activated, so he should be in the lineup today.
Yeah, I have him in right now, but I didn't get to any real ownership for the Nats. I actually got to quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit. I have ownership to the Brewers. I always do, just because of their power. They're a team that I like to have. I mean, they've got 6 straight guys in the lineup that project north of a 200 ISO. So for me, I'm mostly on Brewers bats in a hedge against Strasburg's ownership. I like Strasburg. He's actually one of my favorite pitchers in the league. I've loved him since college, but today's not a day where I'm going to be getting him because of his price tag.
I have some interest in him. I think it's crazy though that he's more expensive than Scherzer. Scherzer was 10K yesterday on DraftKings, which is outrageous. I don't see any reason why Strasburg. You all right over there?
My light is just like pulsating really bad.
Huh.
Kind of distracting. I think the bulb might be dying. It looks like a strobe light right now, so I'm glad I don't have like epilepsy or anything. I'd be down.
Right. It's not showing too bad on your screen. Yeah, you're fine.
I'm not super worried. It's just it's a really big annoyance.
The fact that Strasburg's 600 more than Scherzer was yesterday to me is kind of baffling.
Yeah.
But the same thing that I said about Scherzer yesterday, and I'll keep it short. The strikeout upside against Milwaukee is still very high. So they're a really good team with a lot of good bats, especially with Yelich back in the lineup, especially at Miller Park. So I'm with you. I think both sides make sense, but also, and we saw it. Scherzer struck out 10 batters yesterday, got in a couple jams, but still, gave up only 1 earned and struck out 10. Like, it's not crazy to think that Strasburg could do that too.
Right.
And right now, Syndergaard's 41% projected ownership. Strasburg's down at 13. So you're talking about, less than third of the ownership. I think that's noteworthy, if nothing else.
Yeah, I would rather have Berrios than Strasburg, given the 2 choices, especially with Berrios being even under Strasburg in ownership.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, just while it's only $200, so I'm not super worried about that difference. But yeah, if he's less owned, I think that's the better pivot. But really, I'm not going to get to either guy. I don't need to spend up for it.
Strasburg's strikeout stuff has been fantastic, man. It really has been. His swinging strike rate is more than 2% higher than anything he's ever had in his career. He's at 15% this year.
Oh, love him. So, played a lot of the simulation game OOTP throughout, I don't know, my entire life. And the year that Strasburg came up, I was in the middle of my sim, and Strasburg came up in my sim on the exact same day that he came up in real life.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I've always just sort of remembered that. I'm almost positive it was against the Phillies.
It would make sense. They're a divisional team.
So I just remember, explaining it to one of my roommates, like, yo, this dude is one of the best, if not the best, college starter ever,
The
and he's going to be dirty.
the question is, has he been a disappointment? Because I think a lot of people, when looking at him, say that he has, but it's also funny to think that what he's done at such a young age, like I don't think he has been. I think the injuries have played into it.
He's made $110 million in baseball at this point. I'm sure he's not disappointed.
No, not at all.
Plenty to come, too.
I think the biggest thing is people expected him to come up and never allow a run.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like they expected him to come up and be someone that simply never gives up runs and strikes out 15 every time out. That's just not baseball. Even the best aren't going to do it.
No, for sure. I want to see if he did come up against Philly. Steven Strasburg. Game logs 2010. Nope, I'm wrong. Pittsburgh.
There you go.
Knew it was a Pennsylvania team.
You were close.
Favorite Brewers bat?
I mean, Yelich. If you're just talking about raw
relative to salary.
Relative to salary, I'd probably have to go with Travis Shaw. He's $2,900, man. He's just stupid cheap. He's been stupid bad too, but he's 23 on FanDuel, 29 on DraftKings, and $9 on Yahoo. He still has power versus righties. It's still Miller Park. That's a crazy price tag.
All right, we're gonna move to Cardinals Phillies, and then I'm gonna toss it to you to explain pitching, and I'm gonna turn that light off and on and hope that it stops flickering in my face. Cardinals 4.1 run implied total. Phillies 4.4. It's a 54% chance to win for the Phillies. Dakota Hudson going for the Cardinals. Aaron Nola going for the Phils. Aaron Nola is currently one of my more owned pitchers. I'm quite a bit over the field on FanDuel and DK. He's at 16% expected ownership on DraftKings, 9 on FanDuel. No ownership clearly going to Dakota Hudson. Talk to me about your boy Nola.
I think Nola's perfectly fine, but I'm not enthusiastic about him either. Okay, so this season we've had one. We actually, I'll take that back. We don't have one strong overall elite start from Aaron Nola this year. Even his first start, he walked 5 batters, got rocked by Washington again, 5 total home runs in both of those games allowed. And he went 4 innings against the Mets, got trashed. Against Colorado, the final 3 innings of that game were really good after he worked out of a bases loaded jam, and he struck out 9. The curveball looked great. And then against Miami, he was good. 4 strikeouts, 6 2/3, 1-run innings, not bad. And then against Detroit, he was good, not bad. 5 2/3, 1-run innings with 6 Ks. But perfect, you're back just in time.
I am back.
Aaron Nola has
new light bulb.
Okay, Aaron Nola has not had one elite start all season long. Not one. He's had a couple good starts, but he has not had one elite start all season long. So I'm not saying it can't happen. I just don't think St. Louis is the team it's going to happen against. And St. Louis is a team that I have a lot of respect for. And they generally don't make life easy on opposing pitchers. So no, I'm not as high. You said you're going to have a lot of Nola. I get it. I understand that he's not, wildly overpriced by any means. He's 8,900 on FanDuel, 92 on DraftKings. What's he at on Yahoo? He is 43. So that price tag's really favorable. Yeah. And for that reason, I get it, but I'm not confident about it at all.
No, and the real issue is that he just kind of, like I mentioned, Strasburg, Berrios, Ryu, Nola, McHugh, Lester. Like I see all these guys as relatively comparable. So I'm kind of just grabbing the guys that fit the best for the bats that I like. And Nola at 9,200 on DK or 89 on FanDuel is like in just enough of a wheelhouse that everything else fits pretty well. So he's going to be the benefactor of that. I'm clearly worried about the Cardinals. I think they're a really good lineup. I just at some point I expect Nola to really blast a team, and maybe I'll get lucky, and that's today.
And I think you could. And by the way, like I was saying earlier, if I'm entertaining the idea of paying $8,500 for Griffin Canning, it's not like I can't. It's not like I can say, "Oh, Aaron Nola's, overpriced." No, the reason I don't mind Nola is strictly because of his salary. If Nola was 10K today, I would have virtually zero interest in him. If he was right around the same price as Syndergaard, Berrios, and Strasburg, I just would not get there at all.
I hear you. Yeah, it's all about the price tag on this one. I didn't get to any Cardinals ownership outside of 2% to Matt Carpenter. I certainly, even though there's dual eligibility on DraftKings, I don't really need 23% of Matt Carpenter unless I'm playing cash. For the Phillies, I basically don't have anybody outside of McCutchen, Segura, and Harper. Rhys Hoskins is just crazy expensive right now on both sites. Do you have any interest in the Phillies bats?
No, I'm not getting there. Like you said, Hoskins is wildly. I won't say he's overpriced. He's been good, but for this spot, it's going to be pretty tough to get there. If there, the one guy, and man, has he struggled, would be Bryce Harper. Particularly on DraftKings, he's $4,500. This is still a guy that has a ton of upside. He's got 16 extra base hits on the season. It's not like he can't still hit for power. We of course know that he can. So Harper at 4,500 to me is still a viable option here. It's been a disappointment lately, and you can tell even this guy struggled, or sorry, even this guy is frustrated. But we're talking 80 degrees at Busch Stadium. Once it starts warming up there, it gets real friendly to hitters.
It certainly does. Yeah, I would say Harper is my favorite Phillies bat. That should not be terribly shocking.
What's Hudson's ground ball rate? 56%. Yeah, that's right. If he does one thing really well, it's getting those ground balls. But that doesn't mean ground ballers don't give up home runs when they miss their spots either.
Very true.
Yeah.
And change.
He's given up 8 home runs. I think all of them against. Let me see. I know he allowed. Just curious about this. I remember he allowed 3 to Milwaukee and then none in 2 straight starts. Yeah, and then 2 to Milwaukee. So his first 5 home runs came against Milwaukee, and then he gave up 3 to the Mets. So he's allowed 0 home runs. Get this, in 4 starts or appearances. Yeah, 4 appearances, and 3, 2, and 3 in the other 3.
Well, come on down, Bryce Harper.
Jekyll and Hyde right there.
Where do I have Harper? Where's my nearest Philly? Harper is 23rd in my home run model.
Okay.
So get some Bryce Harper, but really, just for me, it's just Nola, and even that is pretty much just DraftKings. I have like with the field on FanDuel, but he's 8,900 on FanDuel. Nothing crazy.
$43 on Yahoo's is pretty all right too. That's not bad.
No, I'm with you there. Where do I have him ranked on Yahoo? 4th.
Okay.
Alrighty.
There's another guy that we'll get to shortly that I like more than him.
This is another spot. So it's Cubs Marlins, but I need to get the line because this one did not have a total when I started. It is 6.5, which is I had 9, so it turns out I'm off a bit.
Just a bit. You were off by 2.5 runs in a baseball.
It's 40 mile an hour winds, dead center.
Right?
Jesus.
No, it's blowing in heavy from left center field.
Yeah. That's why they don't give the line immediately for Cubs games when they're home. Okay, so I switched that to 6.5.
By the way, it's 45 degrees.
Okay. That'll do it,
That's some shitty weather for hitting, man.
More than a little bit. Whatever. I just hope it gets me away from the Marlins bats. Let me just make sure I have the right line in here as well. We've got 150, 163. Close enough. So 3.7 run implied total for the Cubs, 2.8 for the Marlins, 61% chance to win for Chicago. John Lester on the hill for the Cubbies. Caleb Smith coming off a monster start going for the Marlins. No real ownership going to Smith. He's very expensive on FanDuel at $10K. He's $9,500 on DraftKings, only getting 3% ownership. Got a little bit of love for $44 on Yahoo, but the real guy that's getting the ownership here is John Lester. 22% on Yahoo, 24% on DraftKings, 19% on FanDuel. I will not have that amount. I have roughly half right now. Probably going to have less than that when we get towards lock. This is going to go the same way that it went for Hamels for me. I just don't anticipate getting there with the public. But how do you feel about Lester or Caleb Smith for that matter?
I'm with you, and I had really the same opinion, same approach with Hamels. It's not that I don't think Hamels is good. I think he's solid but unspectacular, and that's where I'm at on Lester.
Yep.
You know, he has an 8 points. And look, when I talk about these numbers, I'm not saying they're everything, but they do influence my decision if somebody's going to be popular. And what I mean by that is, he has an 8% swinging strike rate. Last year, Lester had an 8% swinging strike rate. You're talking about a guy who struck out less than 20% of batters last year. He's at 26% this year, but I don't really think he's doing anything notably different for me to expect that to stay the same all year long. I mean, if Lester is at a price point that is up from what he probably should be in other spots, and he's going to be one of the most popular pitchers on the slate, I just don't have a very hard time getting away from him. That's all it is. I'm not saying Lester can't have a great game against Miami. That's not what I'm saying. He can, of course. Miami's terrible. But he's also John Lester, Josh. And John Lester is going to have a lot of very middling performances where he finishes with like 16, 18, 20 fantasy points. And I'm more than willing to get away from that today, or at least more than the rest of the field.
Yeah, if he's going to be the third highest owned pitcher, I'm good.
Right.
Like it's really that easy for me.
Right. That's all. It's not that we're saying we don't think he can have a good start against Miami in this weather.
Right. Yeah, I expect him to be solid, but I don't see him having the same ceiling as others along with his ownership. So yeah, Lester's just not going to be for me, although I understand it. I have no issue going to John Lester in a cash game. But I don't find him to be a terribly appealing tournament play if he's 24% owned on DK. Or 19% owned on FanDuel for that matter.
Right. Like 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, something like that. And
yeah. Actually probably need to change his innings projection.
What do you have him at?
I had him at 5 2/3. I'm bumping that up 2 more tenths of an inning just because of the total being pretty dramatically different than what I had in there. I'm also going to knock down. I could leave Smith neutral there.
Man, Smith's been excellent this year. He is phenomenal.
So I have a ton of Marlins bats.
Yeah?
Mostly the first 5. Rojas, Prado, Anderson, Alfaro, Castro. And we're talking specifically DK. They're getting no ownership, but 3 guys with dual eligibility right off the jump. They're crazy cheap. They're also crazy bad. Let's be clear here. Crazy cheap.
Yeah. Why are they crazy cheap? Right.
Yeah. They're not good. But I like having at least a little bit here for leverage because I don't find John Lester to be a fantastic pitcher. Let's call him maybe a hair above average at this point. This isn't 8 years ago, John Lester. So I like the Marlins. I like getting myself exposure in a 150 max to the Marlins more than I like going to John Lester. Not a lot of people are going to say that out loud, and nor should they. The Marlins lineup is all kinds of terrible.
Yeah. The weather's awful. The wind is blowing in at Wrigley.
Yep.
I'm pretty much like neutral across the board here. If you're looking at Miami bats because they are really, really discounted, okay. Low exposure, you're not going to need much to get over the field.
No, not at all.
John Lester and cash, I get it.
Yeah.
And look, if you won a tournament with John Lester in your lineup, I wouldn't be shocked by it.
No.
It's still Miami. It's still great weather for pitching, or at least bad weather for hitting. But overall, this is just a game that doesn't do a lot for me. If anything, I'd almost be tempted to play some Caleb Smith just because of how damn good this guy really is. Not because of the matchup.
So expensive.
But is he?
To me, he is.
He
grades out as like a functional play today.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, from a so expensive standpoint, he's basically the same price as Aaron Nola, and neither of them have super appealing matchups. I just don't see a big disparity between the two, especially given Caleb Smith's strikeout upside,
I have a really big gap between the two.
Yeah, and look, projections wise, I get it. Like, if you're just looking at projections, I understand it. But Caleb Smith has elite strikeout stuff and 3 pitches that all generate a ton of missed bats. So, I just, if Nola, the thing is, Nola's not going to be that popular, but he's striking out. Smith is striking out 34% of batters faced this year. 34%. His swinging strike rate, get this, Caleb Smith's swinging strike rate, where do you think it ranks among starting pitchers this year?
9th.
Okay. You are close.
Okay.
Caleb Smith's swinging strike rate among starting pitchers this year ranks 2nd behind Blake Snell.
That was my second guess.
Who had a trip to the DL. 16.8%.
Yeah, I might need. Here's the piece that's keeping me down on Smith, and it's something that I think is about to change as I finish saying the statement and make the change. Last year, for the whole year, Smith averaged 4.8 innings per start. Not great. Was just not going deep into games.
Nope.
This year, he's gone 5, 6, 6, 6, 6, 7. He's going deeper in the games now.
So you're saying he's consistent?
Well, what I'm saying is that I have him projected right now for 5 1/3 because over his last calendar year, he was not going particularly deep in the games.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he only make a handful
17 starts last year?
Did he make 17 starts?
Yeah. Enough that, like, if it was 4, I wouldn't have said anything.
No. I hear you. I also, look, I think this is where
made 16 starts, my bad.
16. I think this is where we probably differ. So Caleb Smith is someone who he's 27, right? Which is not very old for pitchers. And this is his 3rd season at the major league level. So it's not surprising for me to see him advance and to see him progress and to see him, look better than he did a season ago.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I bumped him up now. He'll look a little bit better, but nothing crazy. But yeah, I was underrepresenting him at 5 1/3. I gave him an extra out.
I'm not saying he's not kind of expensive. I'm just saying that I actually think it's $9,500, $9K or so for Caleb Smith is pretty easy to justify when you see how consistent he's been and knowing that it's not fluky, because the pitches that he throws, he might only have 3, but he's got a great out pitch against lefties. He's got a great out pitch against righties, and he's got a solid fastball. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the real issue here is that the Cubs are good.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. The point I was making is that the Cardinals are also good. Yeah. That's all.
Oh, for sure. I completely agree. Yeah, I can see myself getting to slightly more, or I could see myself getting to some now instead of 0 of Caleb Smith, but I am very confident that I'm not getting John Lester.
We can agree on that.
Yeah. Cubs bats, I don't have much of. When I re-crunch, I will get less of the Marlins. I just got a lot of them when I thought the total was 9 and not 6.5. So, that'll tumble. But I will have a couple hedge stacks just because John Lester's going to maintain ownership, and those are the kind of guys that I like to stack against.
I'll say also, Javi Baez is really good.
Yeah.
And he's facing a lefty, so
$5,400.
his price tag has been insane lately. I think yesterday he was 5,900 on DraftKings. Yeah, 5,900. It's just almost impossible.
You know who else is really good?
Who's that?
Anthony Rizzo. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because I picked him for my dong pick yesterday, and he certainly did that. So,
Oh, look at that.
What up, Riz?
Look at that. You know who isn't good? Chris Bryant.
I didn't pick him.
I'm just kidding. He's pretty decent.
Not too shabby. Chris Bryant coming in second. Baez, number 1 Cubs bat in the home run model, 13th. Bryant coming in 17th.
Look at that. I think, does your model have Caleb Smith as like a league average pitcher?
No.
Huh.
What would you want me to make him that, or?
No, I was just surprised that on the 13 gamer Baez was the highest on the slate.
Baez is the highest Cub.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense then.
No. Baez is the highest Cub.
So you can see why I'd think you may have had Caleb Smith as a league average pitcher.
Yeah, no. JD Martinez, number 1.
Gotcha. Okay.
The Trout Arenado story.
Now we're talking. Yeah. And the Cubs scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, for sure.
Caleb Smith is good. That's all.
Alrighty, let's keep it moving. Now we're going to start talking about offense. Astros and Royals. Astros 5.2 run implied total. Royals 3.7. 66% chance to win for Houston. Colin McHugh on the hill for the Astros. Danny Duffy going for Kansas City. Confident that neither of us are taking Danny Duffy. Colin McHugh, 31% expected ownership on Yahoo. 39 on DK. 21 on FanDuel. This was a guy that I thought that I was going to get a lot of and the public wouldn't. Turns out, Colin McHugh, second most owned guy behind Noah Syndergaard, and just barely. I like McHugh here. I don't like him nearly as much as the public, so I will be coming under the field, but he's at a really safe price tag, and I think probably one of the easiest cash pitching options to slot into a lineup.
Yes.
Can't say that I love him 40% of the time in a GPP though.
I'm a big fan of Colin McHugh. Like I think he's a good pitcher. I don't think he's spectacular.
Nope.
I think he's good enough. And really, there's one thing I'm looking for here. Can Colin McHugh give me the strikeouts? Yes. Can he get me the win? Yes, absolutely. Going up against Danny Duffy, who, even if he's not giving up home runs, will probably walk the bases loaded a time or two. So I have no issues whatsoever with Colin McHugh. Similar to you, the ownership on a 13-game slate is higher than I would have expected. The projected ownership is higher than I would have thought. But I think that takes a little bit of the shine off. But hey, McHugh is one of these guys that he will strike out over a batter per inning, and this is a Royals team that I think the Royals are a decent enough. They will put some runs on the board. This isn't a horrible lineup. Like, I still don't know what we're going to get from Hunter Dozier, but he hasn't looked bad. No. Mondesi and Merrifield at the top are good, right? So this isn't just like a total scrub lineup,
right?
But they will. There's like look, I think a handful of these guys, probably 5 of them, strike out around 25, 26, 27%.
Yeah.
And that's what gives you the upside for opposing pitchers.
Yeah. We completely agree here. Yeah, I would say Colin McHugh is probably like the first guy that I would put into a cash lineup after seeing the ownership.
Absolutely.
GPP is a tough sell. Not a guy that I would want to be using in like single entry. Feels safe, high floor. I got 11% on FanDuel. Like I said, we have him at 21. I got 27 on DK. We have him at 40. I expect to be around half the field. Not getting to any Royals hedge stack just because I don't think that they have a ton of power potential. They're not exactly cheap. I mean, Hunter Dozier's $5K, Mondesi's 5,100, Merrifield 49, Alex Gordon 47. These are DK prices. I mean, I don't need. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, they've been pricey. They've been pricey for a while now.
Yeah, I'm not. So the only thing that I'm buying in this game is McHugh, and even that's less than the public. I actually have half the field of the Astros, if not more. DK, most of the ownership is going to Jose Altuve, but I'm not really getting to the Astros, and I'm a little concerned by that. How do you feel about the Astros bats against Danny Duffy?
I haven't run any crunches, so I couldn't tell you, but just looking at them, I would have thought that I'd have a decent amount. But I was just quickly trying to see if there was anything going on with Colin McHugh over these last 3 starts, just to but I don't think so. I think I was just looking at velocity and movement because he hasn't looked great. His first few starts, he looked really good actually, and it was against a couple decent teams, and then kind of just unraveled over his last 3. So not unraveled, but hasn't been great. I think he's probably fine. Anyway, with Houston, Jose Altuve, you mentioned the ownership. To me, it makes sense. Like he's 43 on DraftKings. That's pretty inexpensive. He's $18 on Yahoo. Also pretty favorable for a guy as good as Altuve. I'll take that all day long when you're talking about that price point. I know that he went on a bit of a stretch there where he wasn't hitting anything,
Yeah.
but he will be fine. He is fine. I don't worry about that. As far as everyone else goes, Springer has been good. Another home run yesterday. Correa, who else? Bregman, but they are very expensive. These guys are very pricey.
They are very pricey. I'd like to get to more. I don't expect to. But it is a place that I'm going to keep my eye on. I feel like I should have more Astros, but I just don't right now. They certainly they look good on paper because the first 5 of this lineup are just absolute elite bats.
I say we move on to this next game. It's a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of unique takes here. Colorado Rockies and the San Francisco Giants, 5.3 run implied total for the Rockies, 5.2 for the Giants. It's essentially a 51% chance to win for Colorado. Antonio Senzatella going for the Rockies. Madison Bumgarner going for the Giants. Bumgarner, 3% ownership on Yahoo, 9 on DK, 3 on FanDuel. I'm going to have more Madison Bumgarner than probably anybody on the planet today.
I'm not. Last week I had a lot more Robbie Ray than anybody, and that worked out perfectly fine.
He is my most exposed pitcher on FanDuel and my second most on DraftKings as of right now. If I were on Yahoo, we would probably be first.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. I don't have any Senzatella, neither does the public.
As they should not.
This one's scary, man.
What about, so is it
scary?
What is it, just Bumgarner's price?
Yeah. And I mean, I clearly think that he's better than the general public on a day-to-day basis anyway. I mean, Adam's already talking shit about me liking Bumgarner on Twitter, and it's surprised he's awake at this point. But yeah, he's my dude, and I'm going to be there for it tonight, especially in cores with nobody on him. So I'm happy about that piece. I'm anxious to see where this goes, or if the line climbs, or if the Rockies roll out a lineup that's a little bit different. But I have no issues getting pitchers in cores no matter what, because I think that people avoid them. I don't necessarily think I need 33% Bumgarner in this spot or 20 on FanDuel, but I'm going to have quite a bit more than the public. Talk to me about Bumgarner here.
Okay, so I liked Ray a lot more than I like Bumgarner today.
Sure.
And the reason I draw the comparison is because they're both two lefties. They get decent amount of strikeouts, Ray more than Bumgarner.
Yeah.
But I have a tough time with both sides of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bumgarner this year, when you talk just like from an upside standpoint, he hasn't been terrible. Like swinging strike rate 11%. It's an important stat. You want to see how many bats they're missing. Whiff rates on these pitches, the cutters at 17%. That's the best one he's got. He throws it like 35% of the time, which should be good for Coors at least. Yeah, I think he will be able to navigate around these guys at Coors better than a lot of other guys, just because he is such heavy usage on that cutter. But I don't know, man. This is tough. This is a tough one for me to settle on. I think if anything, I'd probably cop out and just try and get a good amount of Colorado and enough Bumgarner, because I don't disagree with you that at his price, it's not a crazy play at his price point. I mean, he
Right.
is very cheap.
Yeah, and to be fair, I do still have a lot of Colorado. I am equal with
You
the
have
field
to,
on
yeah.
FanDuel. I'm over the field on DraftKings. Same thing for the Giants. I am equal with the field on FanDuel. I'm over the field on DraftKings. So, like, I certainly have my eye on the bats, but Madison Bumgarner is at a price for me that I just can't avoid. Like, I take Coors into account. All, like, that is a part of my model, but just pitching in Coors doesn't mean you are off the table, especially when you get no ownership. He's at 3% ownership on Yahoo. I think that he's my favorite pitcher on Yahoo.
How much is he on Yahoo?
$31. Nope, $36. Sorry.
Okay.
He is the
Even so,
cheapest of all of the quote unquote expensive guys. Tyler Mahle is the next guy on the list at 31. So there's a $5 gap between the two of them. There's no sort of gap anywhere above him.
the only argument I'd make is that I like Griffin Canning better at $31.
That is a statement. More people will agree with you than me for sure.
Yeah, I think Canning on a site like Yahoo where he's that cheap,
Yeah.
Is easier to get to than he is on DraftKings.
Yeah. And then I think we would probably both drop even further and just take Beeks at 28. But
Yeah, Beeks at 28 is another one for sure. Yeah, I missed him there.
yeah, I'm gonna be riding the Bumgarner train tonight. I'm really curious how much I end up with.
What do you think it's going to be? You think you're going to be in the 40s, 50s?
No. I would be. It would, unless Colorado runs out like some additional lefties or Story or Arenado sit. I'd have a hard time seeing it going any higher than I'm at right now. The Cubs Marlins game being 2.5 runs less than what I had in originally is going to redistribute a little bit of ownership as well. But let's just say that Bumgarner stays at his ownership. 3% on FanDuel, 9 on DK. I'd guess I have somewhere in like the 25-ish% range on DraftKings and maybe like 15 to maybe around 15 on FanDuel.
Okay.
And I love that idea. That's the kind of thing that I think can really help me out if he is essentially unowned. It could be a really nice return. If we look at this salary tier for Bumgarner on DraftKings, Daniel Norris is $100 more expensive. You're certainly not trying to take Norris before Bumgarner in any form. After
Freddie Peralta's $300 more expensive, and the guy might not even pitch today.
Exactly. Above him, $600 is McHugh, which I see as a natural pivot. But if McHugh is 40% owned and Bumgarner is 10, like I don't see McHugh 4-1ing Bumgarner tonight, even in Coors.
No.
Below Bumgarner is Duffy, Sanchez, Velasquez. However you feel about Beeks, and you're going to Mahle, Clark, Mike Fiers. He's the best pitcher. Like there's no one better than him below him.
Hey, by the way, if you wanted to further reason for Bumgarner, 50 degrees at Coors today.
Ooh, okay.
Pretty significant. Look, when you look at the air density index, right, way less dense at Coors. It's 47 here. Everywhere else normally is like 70, 73, maybe high 60s. So we know the air density, no matter what, at Coors is going to benefit hitters, but so does warm weather. So when it's 52 degrees 52, 51, 50 degrees here, it does still benefit pitchers. Like Coors Field is not the Coors Field that we love until it starts getting the same thing for Globe Life Park. Yes, it's still better, of course, than Oakland Coliseum when it's 50 degrees. Yes,
Yeah.
of course, but it's not a ridiculous, insane bandbox when it's 52 degrees. It's still the best hitters park in the league, but like you're saying, when you have Bumgarner at that price and you get the temperatures falling into the low 50s, it is still going to be better for pitchers than when it's 80 degrees in Colorado.
Yep. Completely agree. This will be the game that I have my eye on the most. I don't think that we're like going out on a limb saying that the Rockies and Giants are interesting from a hitting perspective. Just, run total is there. It's an advantageous park. So I'm going to have a ton of this game.
It's amazing how many times the Giants have let me down at Coors. I mean, it's not something you factor into your projections, but from Posey, God, oh my God, Posey at Coors has been a just colossal disaster. But it doesn't. You kind of have to just keep doing it, and it sucks. What I find insane today, and I don't understand it, maybe you can explain it, is how Brandon Belt on DraftKings is $4,400 when he is clearly their best hitter, has a matchup against a league average, if that, righty. And the only reason I call him league average is because Senzatella does a good job of preventing home runs. Like that, I'm kind of blown away by how cheap these San Francisco bats are. I know they're not good, but DraftKings lives to price bad hitters above 5K at Coors.
They certainly do. It's as if they didn't notice that the Giants were in Colorado and they forgot to check that boost Colorado box. Yeah, and they're getting ownership too. I mean, Belt's at 17%. I think that's very reasonable. I think I think a cash lineup with Posey and Belt is a very realistic spot to land on.
17 is lower than I would have thought for DraftKings at that price.
Yeah, they look great. I have 11% aggregate ownership on the Giants right now. That's like 50% higher than the public. I'm a fan of both of these teams on DK. They did not get the boost that I thought they would, especially the Giants. Like the Rockies are expensive, but I don't have a problem paying for Blackman, Story, or Arenado at the top. Those guys are legit good.
Of course. Ketel Marte
Charlie Blackman needs a damn haircut, by the way.
Who?
I can't look at him anymore.
Who?
Charlie Blackman. He looks like he doesn't belong on a baseball field.
It's getting bad. It's getting bad.
He's playing the wrong sport for that.
Ketel Marte was $5,500 at Coors.
$5,000 too cheap.
Yeah, let's not do that. Whether you love the guy or not.
10K player.
$5,500 at Coors, and Brandon Belt is $4,400. That something seems off there.
I know, he should be the flat minimum, comparatively speaking.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant, actually, of course.
Never saw him being the dude that I was going to turn into a bit.
I know. Yeah, you have put yourself on an island there.
Yeah. It worked, I guess. One day, at least.
Nope.
I mean, it worked that day.
That day it worked. Yeah, you're right.
I was right on that particular day, and that's what will go down in history.
You're absolutely
I will bring it up for the rest of his career, which is going to be 15 more years of a Hall of Fame career.
All right, now we got to chill.
Favorite bat in this game?
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you this. The last thing is, even though the Giants are really cheap, this is also a bad team. So my guess, though, this ownership is going to rise. I would just be very surprised if all of these super discounted Giants bats aren't the most popular bats on this slate. I would just be really surprised if they aren't. Even the Brandon Crawfords at 3,900 and the Belts at 44. I don't know, man. I'm having a tough time not seeing how people don't load up on the Giants today. And if that is the case, they're still a bad team. So, it's a fine line of, do I take the really good value here, or understanding that volatility is a big factor in baseball, and even if they're cheap at Coors Field, they're still bad. It's a tough decision to make.
It is. It is. Yeah, I expect these to be two of my. Let's see, where are they actually? First and third right now in terms of ownership for me. So I'm gonna have quite a bit. 3 games to go. Should move a little quicker now. A's and Reds. 4.4 run implied total for the A's. 4.2 for the Reds. 52% chance to win for Oakland. Mike Fiers going for the A's. Tyler Mahle going for the Reds. Neither guy getting any real ownership. I got to a little bit of Mike Fiers on DraftKings. 7%. He's 6,800. Not a guy that I really like. The Reds don't strike out all that much, but as far as pay down options go, like he's a guy. I'm not advocating for him. I just don't care if he shows up in a lineup. I'm actually in this game way more for bats than anything else. So talk to me about Fiers or Mahle if you have anything.
No, nothing on hitters here. Although I do think that you can get to some really interesting bats. Mahle's been much worse against lefties, though. There isn't a ton of left-handed. There's not a lot at all. I mean, you don't even have Matt Olson. It's not to say that righties can't come out here and do damage, but I've loved targeting Mahle with lefties. You just don't have that many of them at all in this Oakland lineup.
No, Morales and Grossman are both worse against righties than they are against lefties, so that's not even helpful for them. I have a little bit of Oakland, roughly 5%. That's where the field is. I've got quite a bit of the Reds. I'm with the field on the Reds as well, which I'm not happy about. I don't really love getting bats in Oakland. We'll see how that shakes out as we get closer to lock. The Reds right now are the chalk team on DraftKings.
See, like I think it'll be the Giants. I'd be shocked. I mean, the
Giants are 7th.
Price tags are
7th
so
right
cheap.
now.
Sorry?
The Giants are 7th right now.
I know. I don't buy it.
I don't disagree.
Could be totally wrong. I mean, I'm, guessing ownership isn't my strong suit, but I don't see how the Giants being that cheap are going to go overlooked against Senzatella. It's not Domingo Germán. I guess the reason for Cincinnati is just that they're all really cheap.
Yeah.
Right? Not all of them, but most of them, like Votto and Suarez and such.
Yeah. $3,500 Votto in the leadoff spot is a no-brainer cash play.
Yeah. Yeah, you get yourself a couple of walks.
Yeah. If they ever increase the amount of points for walks, man, Joey Votto is going to become very popular.
Elite.
Look, I like getting to the Reds. I'm a little nervous about the park. I hope something changes and the lineup gets worse so that I can get away from it.
If the Reds are going to be the highest projected owned team or highest owned team, then I am happy to get away from it. But yeah, Votto is cheap, but dude, Votto is he's a better real life player than a fantasy player. Put it that way.
Yep. Oh, for sure, 100%.
He gets on base at a high clip, but just getting on base doesn't do the job all the time.
Is he going to be a Hall of Famer? I don't care anymore.
I think he probably will be.
But like he's been doing this for a hot minute.
He does a lot of things each year that people don't really notice, where he leads the league in like key metrics, but they don't really count for fantasy purposes, so we don't really think about him.
Dude, he has a 154 career weighted runs created plus.
Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion, at least.
A 55 WAR at this point. Basically a 10-year career of 5 wins per. Yeah, he's real good. Big fan. Yeah, I don't have anybody that I really just want to point out. I like the top of the Reds order: Votto, Suarez, Winker, Puig. I like the top of the A's order: Semien, Lariano, Chapman, Davis. I'd say my favorite bats in this game come from Cincinnati, whether that's Votto, Suarez, or Puig. I don't really have any other interesting takes.
Hippie Bull on Twitter says, "Hey, YouTube NBA does miss you guys, man. Laffy D doing 3 hours on a 2-game slate. Ship my money and Josh Engelman going on a random deep dive about the fourth player off the bench, but we enjoy it. Can we get one playoff show, please? I don't even know if we have any 2-game slates coming up.
Every day, man. The whole week.
Oh, that's right. That's right. All of them are 2 games?
Yeah, it's definitely 2 today, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Interesting.
Friday is a TBD just because it can break differently. I don't know if that changed from last night's games or not. I haven't looked since yesterday. Yeah, there's a bunch of 2-gamers. I don't have DFS takes. I'm happy to talk about the tournament or like talk about the playoffs and games.
We could definitely spend the night on that. Yeah.
I don't have DFS takes.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I have not played a single NBA slate since that final Wednesday. And I don't even know if I played that day either.
That was a wild day.
I don't.
So what were we talking about? Sorry, Atlanta and Dodgers?
We are now. Dodgers taking on the Braves. 4.6 run implied total for the Dodgers, 3.9 for the Braves. 57% chance to win for the Dodgers. Hyun-Jin Ryu going for the Dodgers. Max Fried going for the Braves. Ryu getting 9% ownership on DK. I have 19. He's at 6% on FanDuel. I have 11. He is getting quite a bit of ownership on Yahoo, though, at 19%. No real ownership going to Fried. He's a tough sell for me. I'm a big Max Fried fan, but he's like the 10th of 10 guys up in that salary tier. It's a really tough sell for me. Ryu is another guy where if you don't want the 41% ownership to Syndergaard, Barrios and Ryu are pretty natural pivots, in my opinion.
If you gave me Max Fried in the Bumgarner price range, I would have a different opinion just because he's good.
Yeah,
not because of the matchup, which is exactly why we've talked about Bumgarner, right? Because he's not bad. He's a good pitcher, not the matchup. But when you're pricing Max Fried up this high in a tough matchup, then it definitely takes the allure away from him. And then Hyun-Jin Ryu, I have no interest in. So
really,
look, Atlanta's just not a team that I think gives you that upside. He's almost $10,000. No, I'm a huge Ryu fan, by the way. Like I think Ryu's a really good pitcher, and seemingly doesn't get the respect that he deserves in just like baseball circles altogether. I think probably because the Dodgers have so many good pitchers. But
oh my God,
what's up?
Do you know his strikeout to walk ratio this year?
It's got to be 39-2. Wow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wasn't ready for that number.
He's awesome, man. He's a really good pitcher. I love him. And Dave Roberts let him go 100+ pitches in back-to-back starts. Atlanta's just one of these teams that makes life difficult from a strikeout standpoint, and he's almost the same price as all of the other top tier guys who I just like more, which means how do I get there is the thing. But tell me why you like him. I'm interested to hear it.
I might even like him more than I did before. I only have him in for 6 innings. He's gone 6 innings in 3 of his starts this year. 4 of his starts. He's gone 7 twice. He went 8 in his most recent start. He's not walking anybody. I mean, he's been, incredibly lucky. He's left 93% of his runners on base. That number's going to come down. I mean, I think this is like an average strikeout matchup, at least the way that this projected lineup comes out. He grades out for me very similar to Strasburg, very similar to Barrios. And if I'm going to get 41% of Syndergaard, then I'm really happy to have 20% of Ryu, especially if he's 10% owned. I think he's a perfect GPP leverage or GPP play if you just build your lineup starting with Syndergaard and swap them out.
Fair enough.
Like if I'm trying to win a GPP, I see him as a significantly better option because of ownership.
Here's where, just to counter it. Going back to the start of last year, Ozzie Albies K rate versus lefties 12%, Markakis 13%, Inciarte 14%, Freeman 19%, and then like Camargo, Ronald Acuna, Culberson, whoever these guys would be in the line, I don't know. Like the only guy, because I don't expect it to be McCann, I think it'll be Flowers. He strikes out a little bit around 23%, but
yeah,
like The only one above average or above league average really would be Josh Donaldson. So I have a ton of respect for Ryu. I just think Braves against lefties make for a really terrible spot. So that's where I'm at on it.
No, I think that's totally reasonable. There's a lot of options from 8K and higher.
Yeah.
Getting that right is going to be the key for today.
I don't like pitching here, by the way, or hitting.
No, I don't have much of anything. A couple shares of the first 4 of the Braves is where I'm at. That's about it.
Yes. I'm with you.
Alrighty. Closing it out now. Padres and Mets. Padres 3.3 run implied total. Mets 4.1. 59% chance to win for the Mets. Cal Quantrill going for San Diego. Noah Syndergaard going for the Mets. 50% expected ownership on Yahoo, 41 on DraftKings, 27 on FanDuel. I'm quite a bit under the field on FanDuel. On a one-pitcher site, it's a lot easier to pivot to guys that I think are comparable. So I don't mind doing that. On DK at 10-1, he grades out as my best player of the day. I'm equal with the field. It will be interesting to see how that holds up throughout the day. It's a relatively average strikeout matchup, but it is, as of right now, projected to be 8 of 9 righties, with the only lefty being Eric Hosmer. It's a really nice spot for Syndergaard. I like him as a cash play. I'd be happy on DraftKings to pair him with Colin McHugh. I think that's probably the easiest base for a cash lineup. But I know you're not much of a Syndergaard guy, so talk to me about why 41% is too much Syndergaard.
I mean, I don't know if it is on this slate. I like him a lot more here than I normally do. Like Yahoo, he's $46. Just to put that in context, Blake Snell yesterday, I think it was 58 or 57, right? Something crazy. DeGrom was 56. So when you're getting 46 on him, for people that aren't super familiar with Yahoo pricing, that's a good price, right? That's probably what, like mid 9K on DraftKings around.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, around there. He's marginally more expensive than like Caleb Smith and Aaron Nola. And on DraftKings, I think it's fine given the matchup. So yeah, no, normally I'm not high on Syndergaard. I usually think his ownership is way too high. But what I'm saying is I do this is one of those days where I understand why it's coming in as high as it is.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres aren't anything crazy. They project as like a roughly league average offense, a roughly league average strikeout matchup, and you get to be Noah Syndergaard in San Diego, which is obviously an incredible place to pitch against a sea of righties. It lines up for him to be, incredibly efficient. I completely get it. I think he's a fantastic cash option.
I do too. And I mean, I still don't have an issue with him in tournaments.
No, not at all. I'm still going to have some. That's for sure.
Yeah. I get that he's popular, but that to me, is this a high upside spot? Like if it's a high ceiling spot, the ownership is a little bit less important because he could still go off for 35 fantasy points, 40 fantasy points, which we saw him do last start. What do you have, 46? I think that's doable in a spot like this. If he were to be, let's say, not that high priced, but he's chalk against a team that doesn't give you many strikeouts whatsoever. It's just everyone's playing Syndergaard because he's cheap. That's where I'm more likely to get away from him because I'm not worried about him having a ceiling game as often. In this one, I actually think not having Syndergaard could burn you. Not saying it will, but I definitely think it could against the Padres.
I certainly see it. I mean, he projects to have the highest ceiling of anybody of the slate in my model, so I can certainly see being burned. I don't really have much in the way of bats. I have a little bit of exposure to the Mets, no exposure to the Padres. Is there anything interesting here for you?
Not really at all, no. Nothing, actually.
Aaron D in YouTube chat says, temperature in San Diego? Same as it is every other day, my man.
What is it, 62?
I assume mid-60s, perfect.
Oh my God, I nailed it. 62.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, shocked. Yeah, it's
Doesn't
pretty consistent temperatures going on in the lovely city of Saint Diego.
That's right.
Alrighty, 13 games up, 13 games down. Let's take a look at a crunch or two just before we get out of here. Sort of see what the structure looks like. I have my DK crunches up right now. I ran 250 when we started this off. Might look a little bit different once we don't factor in that crazy Cubs total. But let's look at the most popular setup, which is going to be Noah Syndergaard and Colin McHugh, and see what people are getting when they do that. And if I sort this, so I'm going to have, these are all going to be 5-2-1 stacks, and this is why baseball is fascinating. My first three lineups are separated by, I have three lineups within 0.24 points of each other. And all three lineups have different 5-man stacks. Like that's why I advocate MMEing, because you could do a 5-man Angel stack, a 5-man Twin stack, or a 5-man Giant stack. All three of those have essentially the same projection for tonight.
Right, it's crazy. And that's why you get so excited about, well, I mean, the randomness, I know more for basketball, but it comes into play for baseball as well.
It does. It certainly does. Let's see, what do I like the most here with Syndergaard and McHugh? Because I would want to be looking for, if I were going to Syndergaard and McHugh in a tournament, I'd be looking for a slightly off the beaten path stack, so to speak. I mean, if the Giants continue to be low owned, getting a 5-man Giant stack with Peraza, Puig, and Yasmani Grandal, I mean, I like that lineup quite a bit. I'd have no problem getting to that.
No, the Cincinnati stuff surprises me though.
The ownership.
The ownership, yeah. I get it with them being cheap and everything, but I would have expected them to be like more one-off filler options at a cheap cost than stacks.
I agree completely. We look at a different level of pitching. Let's see what I get when I have Madison Bumgarner, since that is sort of the hill that I'm dying on. Let's go Bumgarner. Let's go Nola, which is going to be a popular combination for me. By doing that, I can get to, see, we're sort of by projected. A lot of Giant stacks are coming with that Nola Bumgarner combo. You can one-off JD Martinez in this scenario. I've got him in my top two lineups. I've got a Trout lineup with this Giant stack. This is what I really like. Being able to get to those Giants bats more often. I still like Nola. I'll roll my dice with Bumgarner. But there's a lot of salary out there to be had.
Especially with how cheap those Giants bats are.
For real. They're so affordable from a DK perspective.
It really shocks me. I think when we do an update, they'll be a little higher on it. I do.
I hope not. I hope it goes down.
Me too, but I think they will be. I was surprised that they were that cheap on DraftKings. It doesn't matter good or bad. Like Miami coming to Coors, I would expect Brian Anderson to be $5K.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know why they aren't. Particularly Brandon Belt.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, everybody. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe, which is very helpful for us. At 2:30, we will have Ben Ross and Tim Frank talking AT&T Byron Nelson. Whew, I knew I could call that up. 4:45, Lofty and Adam will be back talking deeper dive for this 13 games. And then we'll get Jake and Chris taking you live before lock. Fast Eddie Fear will be on talking NBA at 7, I believe. I don't know what time the first game is.
Tonight,
it's at 8. Yeah, so Fast Eddie Fear will be on at 7 p.m., basically right at the end of the MLB Live Before Lock show. So come check it out. Check out all the great written content that we have. We've got, I know Ben is going to have an article up for the Byron Nelson shortly. We've got, spotlight hitters, spotlight pitchers, spotlight stacks. We have the deep dive coming out from Adam in the afternoon. Just a lot of stuff going on. So come check it out. Use the promo code MLB Strategy. Get 50% off your first month. Lofty, anything else?
That's it, man. We'll see you tonight.
All righty. Later, everybody. Good luck.